Hey, we're Stephanie and Rick from Back to the Passport, and today we're going to be reviewing our experience on our recent Go Ahead Tours trip to Japan. So we just got home from their tour, the Cherry Blossoms in Japan, Tokyo to Kyoto trip. So before we get into the review proper, on our last Go Ahead video, we had a couple questions about like the cost breakdown and how you can make your payments. So I just want to talk about that a little bit and get that out of the way. So our total tour cost per person for this trip was about $6,821. The tour itself was about $4,500. Our flights, and we flew from Denver to San Francisco to Tokyo, and then Osaka to San Francisco back to Denver. So all in flights for that were $1,855. We did purchase trip insurance just in case we ever have to cancel. We know it's taken care of. That was about $450. And then we paid about $379 for all the excursions that we wanted to do. And you might be thinking that math ain't mathin'. We did have $441 in vouchers and discounts that we did apply to this trip. So all in $6,800, and that was for 10 days in Japan. Again, going from Tokyo to Kyoto. Technically, we had, like 4 hours in Osaka as well?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, not that much.
So with the payment plan, what we ended up doing was we enrolled in their automatic payment plan. So we just had to put $198 down. That covered the both of us and reserved our seats. And then EF calculates all the payments that you have to make. So I think it was on the 13th of each month, they just automatically deducted what we owed from our bank account. You just put in your details there. Or you can choose to make your own payments on your own schedule. You just have to have it paid off by like their cutoff date, which they will make sure to tell you. The reason we ended up doing the automatic payment plan was, one, it's just one less thing we have to worry about, and two, you get an extra like 30 days to cancel your trip with like a full refund and like no fees assessed. So that's why we went about it that way. Mm-hmm. All right, now that we talked about the cost, let's actually talk about the tour a little bit. So first off, just want to kick it off with, what was your overall favorite thing that we did?
So I have two favorite things. It was hard to choose. Yeah. One day we did a Zen meditation, which was really cool. It was in this like, like when you imagine like a classic like bamboo, like Japanese little structure, like Zen house. Whatever you would call it. We went through a guided meditation with like an actual like meditation instructor, and that was really cool to just zone out for a bit and actually do it the way that they do it over there. I also like the trip to Nara, and the deer. So the bowing deer at Nara were really cool.
Yeah, I really like them too. Yeah, I like the Zen meditation. I will say the Zen master was pretty good. So normally when you're learning to become a Zen master, they have like a little stick that they come around and like beat you with if you're not sitting appropriately.
Whack, whack.
You can opt to let him do that to you. So while we were sitting there, I think our first meditation was 10 minutes and then a 5-minute session. But when you're sitting there, if you bring your hands into a prayer position, he will come and correct your posture and give you some thwacks, and they hurt.
Yeah.
They were intense.
It would whack you twice on each shoulder, and it made you sit up.
Yeah. But it was a very interesting experience. Yeah. And then at the end, we got like a little mochi treat and some green tea. But it was just a really nice way to start out our time in Kyoto, as we had just come from rainy Tokyo, and it was finally like nice, and just it really finally felt like we were in Japan.
Yep, totally.
I think I was also really excited that our tour director was able to take us to the Fushimi Inara shrine, so that all those torii gates that we saw.
Oh yeah,
I just thought it was
that was cool too. It was an unexpected treat. Yeah.
Yep. Speaking of unexpected treats, so we had some weather complications on our tour. So a few of our planned activities got canceled. So on our last day in Kyoto, it should have been a free day, and our tour director got us on this activity of like a mochi making class, which I am not artistically inclined, so mine turned out terribly. Yours looked great.
It was like playing with Play-Doh. It took me back to being a kid.
Yeah. So you could get a job in Japan at the factory. I could not. Yeah. But it was just interesting, and it was something that we probably would never have found to do on our own.
Yep.
All right, what was your least favorite thing?
So, like you already touched on, we started off with a spot of bad weather. So in Tokyo, where we started out, it was raining for the first 3 days, 2 to 3 days.
Yeah.
So yeah, it started out on a rough foot with the weather, but you can't control the weather. So what are we gonna do about that? And the other thing, I guess can't control either. We didn't see many cherry blossoms in like the first half of the trip, even though this is billed as the cherry blossom tour, and leading up to the trip, all the predictions were like had us like right in the peak of blooms. But then in like the week before, there was some weather shifts, and they didn't start blooming until maybe like halfway through our trip.
Yeah.
So we still got to see them, just not as many or as soon as we had expected.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like Rick said, we were on track to have amazing blooms, even in like Tokyo when we got there. I mean,
we saw one, like we
found
we found one that was in bloom, like hidden off on a secret path. Yeah. Which
on the one hand, it did make me really grateful when we really did see them in full bloom in Kyoto, because I was so excited because we hadn't seen them. But yeah, that was a bummer. Yeah. But the tour, even though it is billed as the cherry blossoms, they are very cautious to say that, again, they can't control the weather any more than we can. So they can't guarantee sightings, But
yeah, you should go in with the expectation that it might not happen or might not be what you built it up in your mind.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Very much a Instagram versus reality kind of mindset will help out.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so before we keep talking about some of the things we liked, I do want to run down our itinerary just to help orient everything. So when you travel with Go Ahead, technically your first and your last day are always your travel days, so they kind of don't count. So day one for us was our travel day. Like I said, we flew from Denver to San Francisco, then to Tokyo. With that time change, so we left Sunday morning at 8 a.m., arrived in Tokyo on Monday afternoon at we got in right around 3:30. And so technically that is day 2 at this point on the tour. So day 1 is a full day travel day. Day 2 was our arrival in Tokyo. And then we had our group dinner that night to start to get to know everybody. Day 3 was a full day experience in Tokyo. So guided tours in the morning through the afternoon. And then we ended up doing the optional excursion that night. Day 4 was either a free day in Tokyo where you're on your own and you can just figure out what you want to do. We ended up doing another optional excursion where we took a day trip to Kamakura because God knows we probably wouldn't have been able to figure that out on our own. So might as well. And if we ever return to Japan, I feel pretty confident we could figure out Tokyo for the most part on our own. Yeah. I don't think we'd be leaving the city, but
probably not.
Day 5 was we had a morning in Tokyo where we started finally seeing some cherry blossoms. And then we got on our bus and drove out to the Mount Fuji region. Day 6 was more of the Mount Fuji region, and then we took the bullet train to Kyoto. Day 7 was another full day of exploring Kyoto. Day 8 was our day trip down to Nara to see the deer. And then day 9 was a full day in Kyoto, but again, since we had some complications, our tour director did organize some activities that we just went along for. And then we had excursion to I'm probably going to butcher this, but the Arashiyama bamboo forest. And then day 10 was our morning in Osaka and then our flights home. Or you could have booked the extension, so you would have done Osaka and Hiroshima. But we already did a 2-week go-ahead trip in September, so we felt like we should probably keep this one a little bit shorter, so we ended up coming home. So out of all of those, what was your favorite city?
I really liked Kyoto. It was a welcome change from the big bustling city of Tokyo, because Tokyo is just huge. I've never been in a city that big where it was our first night. We were a high floor of a building, and you could look out the skyline, and it was literally skyscrapers in the entire horizon. I'd never seen that densely packed of a city. So Kyoto is much smaller than that. So yeah, I just like the smaller, cozy, quaint feel of Kyoto compared to Tokyo. Yeah,
I would agree. All right, what about your favorite hotel?
Favorite hotel is probably Kyoto also.
As well?
Yeah. Because it was That was the one that was just down the street from the ramen place, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, everything was really walkable from it. It was easy to get around. It was like, what, 15 to 20 minute walk to the, like, that main street with all the restaurants and shops and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it took us 20 minutes to get to, like, the Pokemon store, Nintendo, and then, I thought Kyoto was also very walkable, and, like, our hotel was centrally located. Mm-hmm. I thought all the hotels they picked were pretty decent for this trip. We've had hit or miss hotels, I think, before on other trips. And even our Tokyo one, so we were located in the Asakusa neighborhood. So it was easy to get there by train, but there wasn't as much to do, which I guess was probably kind of nice in some regards.
Sure.
But
yeah.
I will say the thing to know about the hotels, and I'm going to guess this is true about hotels no matter if Go Ahead's booking them or you're booking them on your own, I don't know what is up with Japan and their terrible pillows.
It's like they purposely give you terrible pillows so you don't sleep well. I don't know. Yeah, every hotel we were in, they were just the worst, like, uncomfortable, like, thick, like, I don't know what material they were made of, but yeah, they were not very ergonomic on the neck.
No. Yeah. And we had some friends that we were traveling with who stayed for the extension, and they said once they got to Osaka, the hotel there had, like, Western-style pillows. So
Western-style pillows.
Yep.
Pillows vary that much by region.
Well, apparently. Like, I'm not kidding. Our hotel in Kyoto was fantastic. Everything about the room was so nice, except for these stupid pillows. Like, one night, I ended up just bunching up a bunch of my sweaters and slept better than using this pillow. So, I'm sorry, Kyoto Hotel, but your pillows were terrible.
There's another night or another hotel where we used the pillows from the couch.
That was Kyoto as well.
Yeah, okay.
I didn't notice it as much in Tokyo. Like, I don't know if theirs were just a little bit better or what. But
not as bad.
God, by the time we got to Kyoto, my head was just going to roll off.
Yep.
I'll also say with the hotels that Go Ahead picks, you're always going to have breakfast included. So most of the breakfasts were like a buffet. I really liked the one in Tokyo because you also had like an option of like 6 menu items, like eggs. I think French toast was one of the options, and then like a traditional Japanese breakfast. But breakfast will always be available to you. I think all the hotels, we got little vouchers. So you just have to get your breakfast ticket and then you can go downstairs. Fair warning, all the breakfasts were always packed.
Yeah. Well, yeah, 2 things to note that are kind of related. So our tour director would tell us, okay, for example, breakfast is at 6:30 in the morning. He doesn't mean that you have to be there at 6:30. He says breakfast opens at 6:30. But if you want to beat the crowds, you should get there sooner rather than later, because I think we went late one day and we had to wait a while. So just if you're gonna do breakfast, make sure you do it early,
especially for something like this when you are on a group tour where you're expected to be like on the bus at 8 or 8:30. You just want to make sure that you have enough time to eat and then go back up to your room, get everything you need for the day before you have to head out. That brings me to my next point. None of our hotels had stairs.
Yeah.
It was the weirdest thing, and we asked our tour director about it, and he said it's a safety thing.
They do have stairs, you just can't use them.
Oh, I guess, yes.
Like, there are stairwells, but the doors are locked, and you can't get in without a key. And yeah, they said it was for, like, safety, security reasons.
Because every hotel we were on definitely had a camera in the elevator. But yeah, it was just the weirdest thing, because when we did our England, Scotland, Ireland trip, even if we were on like the 8th floor, we would hike our bags up the stairs just so we didn't have to wait for the elevator. But on this tour,
we had to wait for the elevator. And the elevators are tiny, and there were like multiple times where one was coming by and it was full, and we just, what do you do?
Because there was a morning that we were the last ones to get on the bus, but we told our tour director, we were like, there was no opening ever, so maybe...
So we were waiting on the elevator for probably 10 minutes.
15 at least. Because, I just remember texting him being like, I'm sorry, it's not us. Like, we tried to be there on time. There's not much we can do about it without having access to stairs. So it was just a very weird thing that we kind of noticed since, typically we would take the stairs everywhere.
Yeah, even the time where it's like, oh, we're only on the 2nd or 3rd floor. Let's just take the stairs. But no, couldn't do it.
And with the security thing, a lot of the hotels, you have to have your room card to be able to even like call the elevator or, go up to a floor that isn't like the reception floor. So just something good to know.
Something to know.
All right. Well, let's talk about favorite excursions. So the excursions are the optional add-ons. So with your tour cost, anything that's in the itinerary is going to be included. So like on ours, that included the Zen meditation class, the bullet train tickets, entry to all the temples and shrines that we did, the local tour directors, all that stuff. But then they offer optional ones. So we did a Japanese cooking class in Tokyo. We did the day trip to Kamakura while we were in Tokyo. And then we did the Arashiyama bamboo forest. So which one was your favorite?
I like the bamboo forest.
Yeah.
I mean, the Kamakura one was cool too, just to see the big Buddha. But I like the gardens. I like the outdoor stuff, like the forest. And so, the bamboo forest was really cool because there was, the actual bamboo forest part of it. But then there were like other little like Zen gardens and like just beautiful areas and buildings that we just got to walk through. And I really like that a lot.
Well, that's where we saw like the weeping cherry blossoms too. And that was really pretty.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Well, the weird thing with that excursion was it was so packed in the bamboo forest. So again, another Instagram versus reality moment. Expect a ton of people. But then it felt like we were the only people that did the Zen garden walk. Like, did you ever see anyone else?
There weren't many on that one, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like, I thought it was only just our
Because it was like being on a hike, and you're like, okay, I'm either going to catch up with somebody or someone's going to catch up with me. But yeah, you're right. No one.
I don't think we ever saw
didn't encounter anyone else. Yeah.
Until we like left that area.
Yeah, that was strange.
Which was kind of nice to take a break from all the crowds. All right. What was do you have a least favorite excursion?
Least favorite. I mean, if I had to pick of the ones we did, the cooking class wasn't really what I was expecting. I mean, it was cool because it was in this like little restaurant owned by this couple, and they were the ones that were putting it on, and like they were good teachers, and we had good food. It just kind of felt like we were two things. We didn't really get our money's worth, I feel like, and we felt really rushed. Like it was
rushed.
We weren't there that long, and they gave us like a 5-minute cooking demonstration, and then it's like, okay, your turn,
and eat, and then get out of here.
Yeah, so I guess that's what I would say.
Yeah, I would say that's fair. That would be mine too. So the cooking class was $125 per person compared to the day trip to Kamakura, so including like the train tickets and included lunch, seeing the big Buddha, that was $135. So I guess I expected more out of the cooking class. Again, like Rick said, it was good, and like it was interesting to actually like make our own food.
Yeah, we got to learn some, Japanese cooking techniques and things like that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I just either lower the price or give us more, I guess would be the takeaway if anyone from Go Ahead is watching. All right. Let's move on and talk about favorite meal.
Favorite meal. So on one of our free nights, we did a steakhouse, like a Wagyu beef, like legit like Japanese steakhouse. And that was delicious. That was probably, if not the best steak that I've ever had.
Yeah.
Because they brought, it was like on a hot plate, and they like cut up the raw meat. They didn't even cook it really before coming out. Plopped it on the plate, and it just cooked on your plate in front of you. And that was it just melted in your mouth. It was so good. And then also on that one was the onions, onions and the ham. Yeah, it was just literally a plate of like a pile of thin sliced onions and then like really thin sliced ham pieces.
And like a sauce.
And some sort of sauce. And luckily our waiter spoke enough English to tell us the correct way to eat it. Because, like, sits down at the table and we're just, I think we probably give it this look of like, oh, how do we do that? But yeah, you take some of the onions, wrap it in the ham, or mix it with the sauce, and then wrap it in the ham. And, it was so good.
Yeah. I would say that raises some good points. So yeah, it was a good thing our waiter spoke some English, and you could tell when we got there, I mean, it's a group of white people coming in, that they ran off to find like a waiter who would be able to talk to us. Overall, I felt there wasn't too much of a language barrier. Now, granted, we did have a full-time tour director who is from Osaka, so obviously he speaks Japanese natively. He was able to help out a lot. But I would say expect to learn at least a few key phrases in Japanese before you go, or you might have kind of a tough time, especially learning how to say, you know, hello, thank you, where is. Granted, like, one thing that I found really interesting was, especially compared to our Europe trips, there were bathrooms everywhere. You never had to worry about finding a bathroom.
And they were free.
They're free, and there's a lot of signage to be able to find them and figure out which one's the right one. But otherwise, I would recommend having a few Japanese phrases up your sleeve, or at least having like Google Translate ready to go, or a translation tool, so that way you can say what you need to and it'll translate it back. We even had some servers use that on us while we were out. Like, they couldn't understand, so they would say it in Japanese and then it would translate it to English for us. But again, compared to some of our Europe trips, like I would never feel like I have to learn German to go to Germany. Like, I would learn a few words, but like we'd be able to get around okay. Here I felt like English wasn't as prevalent in a way that I was expecting it to be.
Yeah. And you know, most like restaurants and stuff, you can point at a menu, and they'll give you English menus. But then also some restaurants, like we went to a ramen place in Tokyo, and it had a very unique way of like how you order and then when you sit down and everything. So we had our day guide, or our is that the right
Who's our
term?
local guide?
Local guide, thank you.
Yep.
So we had a local guide that day that took us there and like, you know, showed us how it all worked. But if he wasn't there to show us that, I would be like, I don't know what to do. I don't know.
I guess we're going hungry.
Yeah.
Or we would have just like walked in and sat down and they'd be like, what are you doing? Like, that's not how this works.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was definitely nice. Definitely enjoyed all the ramen we got to eat. That was fantastic. And it was so affordable. Like,
yeah, well, that's just speaking of everything. Yeah, like the vending machines is at the $1.50 bottles of water whenever you want it. And yeah, the food definitely.
Yeah. Like, I was looking at my credit card statement the other day and having all the Japanese stuff show up, and I think our ramen lunch was like $25. So that was for 2 bowls of ramen, and we each got a beer.
Yeah.
But then I have some charges for like $5 that I'm like, I have no idea even what I bought, but
I guess
so affordable.
Yeah, on that note, we did get yen, like we got some cash. I think we only ended up converting like $250 US dollars. 215 US dollars into yen, and we still had leftovers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little bit. But that's also a good point. Japan, or at least a lot of places we went, were still very cash heavy. So like one of the ramen restaurants we went to does not take credit cards. So definitely a good idea to either arrive with some yen already or prepare to hit up an ATM at like a 7-Eleven, which is, there's a 7-Eleven every 3 feet.
Yeah. Yeah, our friends that we travel with went to 7-Eleven ATMs a lot.
Yeah.
And I guess that worked out.
Yeah. But just be prepared that, cash is going to be kind of preferred in a way. Like, obviously some of the restaurants, like we ended up doing a really nice sushi dinner one night, kind of like a Michelin star experience, and they definitely took credit cards because otherwise we would have had some issues. I don't think we had enough yen on hand to pay for that one. But
well, and the other good thing for having cash and coins is for the vending machines. Because I mentioned vending machines. They're everywhere. There's like 4 million of them in the whole country. Like there's like 5 of them on every street corner.
Yeah, at least.
And some of them do take cards, it's easier just to do cash at them. Because I tried a card at one, couldn't figure it out.
Oh, and you wanted your Coke Zero?
I wanted a Coke Zero, and I couldn't get my Coke Zero. No, I ended up getting it. But yeah, it's much easier if you just have coins.
Yeah, definitely. And like at the 7-Eleven, you can easily break a bigger bill. So you'll just put it in like the, I don't know, cash slot, and then it'll give you coins back as change. So it's very easy to get your cash broken down into change.
Yeah, lots of chances too. Yeah.
All right, so you mentioned the Kobe beef was your favorite meal. I really did enjoy that too, but I'm going to say the sushi restaurant. So we were traveling with another couple. It was his birthday while we were over there, so we had asked our tour director, like, hey, he really likes sushi, where should we go? And luckily our tour director was fantastic, so he went ahead and made us a reservation for like a private little like booth at this restaurant, and it was just a plated meal, like a multi-course plated meal. So I think we had
like
eight
eight
courses.
at least eight, around 8 courses, yeah.
But it was, just a really fun experience. And oh my God, the food, the sushi, the sashimi was so fresh and just so tasty.
Yeah. Well, and at that place specifically, we didn't have to order anything. It was
it was already set.
Fixed menu, and they just, I don't know if they were peering in through the holes in the door or if they had a camera in there, but it was like as soon as we were done with a course, there'd be a little knock on the door, and they'd take our plates and then bring in the next one. They were really good.
Yeah. And that was a restaurant where, our server did not speak English because some of the things she would tell us what they were, and then there were some that she's like, I don't know the word in English. It's fish. Yeah. Speaking of meals, so on these trips, a lot of your lunches are included while we are out and about for the day. So the included meals on this tour included our buffet dinner for our first night in Tokyo, where we were getting to know everybody. And then the next day when we did the Kamakura trip, I guess not the next day, 2 days later, we did Kamakura. That also included a sit-down lunch. And that was kind of interesting because it was just like, I don't want to say a bento box because it wasn't a bento box, but it was just a variety of different like Japanese dishes. So we got like noodles, miso soup, had a ton of miso soup everywhere, tofu. I think we had like some tempura shrimp in there. So it's just really nice to try a variety of stuff and, again, not have to pay for it. Well, I guess we already paid for it, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, the included lunches were all very similar. And the fact that there was, like, imagine, like almost like a cafeteria tray with, like, sections. And there'd be, I don't know, 4 to 6 different things, like, on your plate. So to try a bunch of different things like that was nice. And, a lot of tempura stuff, so.
A lot of tempura, a lot of miso soup, a lot of rice. But it was funny when we got home. My parents were like, so what all were you eating? I'm like, I don't know. You just eat it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, there was a lot of stuff that was like, I don't even want to know what it is. I'll just eat it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then, our last night in Kyoto. So again, since we didn't do the extension, we went to a hot pot restaurant, and that was a really fun experience. And our tour director was fantastic because, he kind of by that point knew who was like traveling with each other, made sure that we got to sit with our friends, other groups were sitting with their people, and it was just a really neat experience.
Yeah, that was a good dinner.
Yeah, something that I'm glad we were with the tour group, given the noodle sauce situation, but...
So... We were eating, and they brought out these bowls of...
It did look like soup.
Of what I thought was soup, okay? So, like, I take a sip of it. Oh, this is really good. So I just keep drinking it, and I was like... And then our tour director comes around, he sees my empty bowl, and he's like, what happened to that? I was like, well, I drank it. And he's like, no, that's not soup, that's noodle sauce. Because then they bring out noodles that you cook in the hot pot and then mix in the sauce. So they had to bring me out more noodle sauce, and the waitress laughed at me. It was,
I think everyone had a good laugh about it. But to our credit, again,
nobody told me what it was.
Nobody said anything, so... And at that point, you were just used to, okay, it's a meal in front of me, I'm going to eat it.
You put this dish in front of me, I'm going to eat it.
It was a good day. All right. Moving on, let's talk about transportation a little bit. We've already talked about accommodations, food, transportation. So like we said, we booked our flights through Go Ahead. We had... Most of our time was spent on the bus, but we did also have some train rides in this, like the bullet train to Kyoto, which was really nice. And again, just kind of a culture shock kind of thing. So while we were waiting for the different trains, we found out that Japanese people are very orderly. So, like, you line up 2 by 2 to wait. Like, unlike Europe, I feel like everyone just kind of, like, rushes on, or even in, like, New York City. Yeah. But, like, here, everything was very orderly and just, I don't know, you follow the instructions and you get on.
Yeah. It's all of our transportation experiences were positive, I'd say. Yeah.
And then, again, like all the other EF tours we've talked about, prepare to be on the bus quite a bit, because that's the easiest way to transport a large group of people everywhere they need to go. All right, let's talk quickly about the tour director. So with your tour, you always have a full-time tour director. On this one, our guide's name was Masa, who was fantastic. He had a different, I guess, communication style, like compared to some of the other ones we've had where like they printed out like instructions for us for the day. But Masa was very communicative on the app. Like he was always letting us know what time we had to be places. And then again, it was just fantastic having him be able to like help us with like booking reservations for stuff that we probably wouldn't have been able to do on our own.
Yeah. And since the tour directors, you know, like a lot of the trip is like up to their discretion. So like the other trips we've taken, it's like, yeah, we've seen, you know, some similarities, some differences, nothing like, you know, like bad necessarily, but yeah, just like, oh, this was different from our last tour director, or like, or so-and-so did something a different way. But yeah, they all have their own kind of style, I guess.
Yeah. And they all work super hard because again, like you could tell Masa was upset for us with like some of the weather complications we had, so working overtime to make sure that he could make up for it or help us find something else, or again just helping keep everyone calm.
And yeah, especially with that one of the days we had the bad weather, he had to, you know, he shuffled things around even though we couldn't do A and B. He booked us, you know, C and D, like different things to go do, so he was very good about that.
All right. So I think we're going to close this video out with just a few quick tips if you are thinking of booking a trip with Go Ahead, whether or not it's this Japan one or a European one, which we've also had very good luck with. So the first thing, just go with the flow. As you've heard us say, your tour director will help take care of you. And there are just some things about travel that you just can't control. So especially like the weather, and understand that it's unpredictable. So just prepare for it as best as you can and just deal with it. It's real life. Pretend you're a local who lives there and this is just your everyday experience. And know that things can change from the itinerary. There were a few things that we had listed on our day-to-day itinerary that was like, oh, I don't think we actually did that. But it's okay because we did something else instead. So just be a little bit flexible with what your day-to-day is going to look like.
Yeah, and next thing would be respectful of your fellow travelers. I mean, you're going to be with this group for a week and a half to 2 weeks, so you don't want to make any enemies right off the bat. Maybe near the end. No, I'm just kidding. And a big thing is be on time. Because like we mentioned, there's every morning, like be on the bus at this time. And for the most part, people were on time. There was a few days where, you know, like we got hung up one day. We were the late ones one day, but it was only like 5 minutes. But yeah, be respectful of time, be on time, you know, try to be places like 5 to 10 minutes before the time he tells you.
Because again, this is everyone's trip. So just keep in mind that you're traveling with others who may want to stick to the itinerary as much as possible. Next up, expect to be out most of the day, especially on like the full days in a new city. Again, we were on the bus by like 8:30 at the latest, probably rolling back to the hotel around like 4 or 5 o'clock. So you're out for the entire day. So bring a charger for your phone if you need that extra. But otherwise, you're going to be out the entire day, and you'll probably be walking quite a bit if you're not on the bus doing your sightseeing tour.
Yeah. And don't be afraid to ask your tour director for help. That's what they're there for. Any questions about anything, like I said, we asked ours about dinner reservations and just, anything about the local. Because like they're a local, well, they're from the region, one of the regions that you travel to. So like they'll know stuff about that as well.
Yeah. I don't think we've ever had a tour director like not be able to help us with any of our questions. So they're pretty great. Next is make sure that you have the app downloaded, as that will kind of be your hub for your entire trip. It'll show your day-to-day itinerary. You'll kind of cross it off as you're going through it. It'll list your hotel information, your flight information, so in case you forgot to copy down like your confirmation code for anything, or you need help finding the hotel and you need its address, it's all there, as well as the chat function, which when we were waiting on people, it proved really useful because then we could drop our locations for people that were lost or couldn't figure out where the bus was, or just having our tour director be able to tell us, again, like, reminder, tomorrow's meeting time is 8:30 to be on the bus, or, the bus is going to be around the corner, so meet there instead.
Yep. Another good tip would be pack light. So I think we've mentioned this in some of our other videos, how we've done carry-ons for these long trips. So this time we did check a bag, but we weren't moving around as much as we have in the past. And then the one day that we took, was it the bullet train?
To Kyoto.
Yeah, we didn't. The night before the bullet train trip, we left our luggage in the hotel lobby, and they actually shipped it to Kyoto instead of us having to lug it around on the train. So that was nice. But yeah, just in general, try not to take a lot of crap.
Yep.
Yeah.
Especially if you want to bring home a lot of crap or souvenirs.
Or you have to buy another suitcase just for souvenirs.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we definitely saw some rearranging at the Osaka airport as people were weighing their bags. I mean, we had to rearrange a little bit too.
Yep.
But and yeah, for this trip specifically on Packing Light, again, we had to say goodbye to our big luggage. Luckily, I had brought like a little mini weekender bag so we could put our overnight stuff in that. Just really make sure to read through the itinerary or the chat function. It opens before the trip even starts. So our tour director was telling us things that we needed to know in there. I guess he did put in a message about packing like a little backpack or an overnight bag that we missed, but luckily we had one. So pay attention to the chat. And then lastly, just price out flights. We tend to buy our flights through Go Ahead just because they are responsible if anything happens. Like if our flight gets canceled, they have an entire team that can figure out how to reroute us or take care of us or figure out how to get us either to our trip or get us home from our trip instead of us having to stress about that. And that's worth the cost alone to us.
Yep.
All right. Well, that wraps up our review of our Japan tour with Go Ahead Tours. Please feel free to ask any questions about our experiences in the comments below. Also, give our blog a look over at backtothepassport.com. Otherwise, thanks for watching. Ciao.
Ciao.